Minutes past the 8 o'clock hour. Chris Lenois back with you for hour number 3 of the Green Mountain Mornings program on WKVT 100.3 FM and AM 1490. The website for your reader-supported independent news and views source for Windham County is commonsnews.org. The Commons is free on stands every Wednesday, and every Friday we are joined by its deputy editor, Randy Holhut, calling in from his compound in Dummerston. Good morning to you, Randy.
Good morning, Chris. Good morning, everyone. Hi, Joyce.
Hi, Joyce. Thank you so much for tuning in. Of course, you left your compound last night to participate and moderate the Voices Live Forum. Are you guys kind of planning on doing these things quarterly now, 3 times a year? It seems like you've sort of come up with an algorithm for having these.
Well, it's been about 6 months since the last one, and in that time, of course, so Olga's moved on to greener pasture, so I got deputized into being the moderator for the event. Not the first time, though. You moderated the very first one, if I remember correctly, no? Well, that's because nobody wanted to touch that one. That was the Vermont Yankee.
That was the VY one.
Yeah, and the Olga was on the panel, too. So
Right. So you got to handle the radioactive material for that one. And last night, the continuing conversation around homelessness and addressing homelessness in our community. You were moderating a panel with folks from Groundworks Collaborative, Town of Brattleboro, Wyndham Windsor Housing Trust, and Brooks Memorial Library. Just a situation report, basically?
That's what I was looking at. That was what I hoped to accomplish for the event, and with the all-star cast of Josh Davis from Groundworks and Connie Snow from Wyndham and Windsor Housing Trust, and the star.
Yes.
from Brooks Memorial Library, the library director, and Peter Elwell.
Yeah, and
town
Peter
manager, and special guest star Lawrence.
Oh, right.
Who was a Groundworks volunteer now.
Josh
and we
was
had
on.
A lot of homeless people in the audience. So people who are actively using the services now, or staying at the shelter, or volunteering, or it. There was a lot. It was a lot realer, and a lot less theory, and a lot more. This is what's happening right now.
Interesting, because Josh was on my show Wednesday, and we were kind of previewing what was going to be talked about there, and he mentioned Lawrence going there. He also mentioned how volunteering is down at the emergency overflow shelter at a time when really we're talking about we're in the coldest part of it, and it's kind of like a reset as far as volunteers for the first part. So was that priority number one, was just kind of more immediate needs? You'd hope some of these forums would look more at these long-term strategic needs, but it seems to me that they're still triaging some of the crisis needs on a day-to-day basis there.
Well, it's more of people asking, okay, what can we do? People come up to me, ask for money, and I tell them I don't have it, or I can't give it. What can I do instead? And the answer was almost unanimous: volunteer. The Groundworks needs the people at the shelter overnight. They need people at the drop-in center. There's plenty of things that you can do if you feel uncomfortable when giving somebody something when they ask you for it on the street. The other thing was the long-term component was that in this coming week they're going to be starting discussions on where the overflow shelter is going to be next season, because of course they have no place for it now as of right now.
Yeah. Was there a progress report given on that? I know Peter Elwell has been very committed as a partner for Groundworks Collaborative, having the town of Brattleboro really helped searching after the Frost Street location fell through. Have they narrowed it down? Do we have possibilities?
We don't have sites yet. I mean, it's still, the wish list is something that's close to downtown, could accommodate 20 or more beds comfortably, and have access to services. Yeah,
but still no definitive, like, all right, we've narrowed it down to 5 sites or 2 sites or anything like that.
I think you may be hearing more in the next couple of weeks, because they're going to start talking about it within the next few days.
Yeah,
seriously about what they're going to do. And good timing. Connie Snow was up in Montpelier. They were talking about the human services budget yesterday. and there were some encouraging news about money available for programs. So there was some hope that they may have some money to work with on the state level.
Yeah, that was certainly a buried part of Phil Scott's budget proposal, was this bond with the VHCB, I think, if I have the acronym correct. And Josh Davis didn't even know about it. I sent him the press release about it before coming in on Wednesday. He was really excited about this proposal to try and get more money into affordable housing, something like $35 million, I think.
Yeah, and Connie was really excited about that too, and was we presented that to the audience last night, and really there was a lot more good news than bad news to talk about, and that was another hope I had for the forum. That wouldn't be all about it's so sad.
Yeah,
Starr talking about how we know that the library's become kind of the drop-in center annex.
Yeah.
for our downtown people, and she's finding that some of those people who've been going to the library as who didn't have a place to live now have places to live, and they've got permanent library cards now. They can actually take out DVDs and watch them on a television in their apartment, or take out books every week.
That's outstanding, and certainly I know that Groundworks has had a few success stories with housing some of these people who have been chronically homeless for a while. The panhandling conversation, and I remember it was a couple of months ago at least, I think, that the Commons did a story about panhandling here, and you mentioned a lot of people who were housing challenged at this panel. What did they say about that issue as far as panhandling? Because some of them were probably the ones who were doing that.
Not really. There wasn't from the homeless folks. They weren't talking about panhandling. Actually, the one who made the most noise about it was Dick DeGray, the outgoing Selectboard member,
right? And
talking about it being a threat to the quality of life in Brattleboro. But as Chief Fitzgerald wasn't able to be at the forum, but he has definitely laid down the guidelines for people soliciting aid on the street, which is you have a First Amendment right to do that. You can ask people for money. The key is you can't be threatening about it, and you can't be blocking the sidewalk or the street to do it.
Yeah. Pretty simple rules, and great to see that law enforcement in town is respectful of that. Will we see a transcription of the forum, a story about the forum next week?
Not sure about that, but it's definitely going to be on BCTV shortly.
Yeah, absolutely. They were there filming it, and so people can look for that on their channels 8 and 10, as well as on their website, BrattleboroTV.org. Once again, commonsnews.org, the online home for your reader-supported independent news and views source for Windham County. The Commons will continue our conversation with their deputy editor, Randy Holhut, after the bottom of the hour news break here on Green Mountain Mornings. 15 degrees outside at 21 minutes before the 9 o'clock hour. Green Mountain Mornings continuing now. Your host, Chris Lenois, and our conversation with Randy Holhut, the deputy editor of your reader-supported independent award-winning news and views source for Windham County, free on stands every Wednesday, online at commonsnews.org. Go there and become a member and support all the great work Randy and the rest of the Commons staff does. The entire Commons staff, Randy, putting their byline, if you will, the Commons putting a byline on a editorial in the Voices section of the Commons, a very rare thing. In fact, I can't remember it happening before where there was just a Commons op-ed, but our stark real-world civics lesson speaking about kind of the things happening in the world and the need to be responsive to it. Has that happened before at the Commons?
Well, we've written editorials before. We haven't done it for a long time because I've been busy doing the rest of the paper.
Right. Well, and you've written editorials with your byline on it.
That's more of if you see my name on something, that's my opinion, and it's a column.
Right.
But if you see no byline on it, and the word editorial, that's kind of that's something that's written on behalf of everyone at the paper. And Jeff was the author of this piece, which explains why it sounded a lot more conciliatory than anything I would write.
Yeah, but still, you I mean, the decision inside the House to not be by Jeff Potter, but from the Commons, something that I imagine there is a conversation that happens.
Well, the conversations happen every day in the newsroom about this because it's just, this is topic A just about everywhere about what's happening to our country. And also taking comfort from some of the inspiring things we saw. I mean, last weekend, the response to the executive order on immigration was amazing.
Yeah.
See, it was like someone pulled a fire alarm, and everyone came racing out of the law firms and everywhere to the airports and taking action immediately.
Yeah, and a story in the Commons about that as well by Taryn Heon. Is that how you say Taryn's name? Heon?
Yes, that's right.
And actually, I've seen Taryn's byline a couple of times now. Is this a staff member, a stringer?
Yeah, she's going to be working part-time for us.
Okay.
So we're slowly working her into the rotation.
Nice. Yeah, I meant to, the last time I saw it, and it was actually the resistance issue, as I was calling it, the previous week's edition of the Commons. I meant to give you a chance to introduce Taryn to the listening audience here. So where did you find this young prospect?
Well, Jeff did. So I don't know the full story about how she came to our door. Only that glad to see her, because the void that's been left since Olga's departure, besides me being forced to moderate panels,
right,
is considerable. And Olga did a lot of stuff to build up the newspaper's reputation. So finding a successor to her is going to take some work.
Yeah.
So we'll build up slowly to that, and hopefully be back at full strength sometime in the next few months. But the vigil there, that came together quickly, too. The church, Center Congregational Church, members of that church, Saturday night said, I ought to do something about this tomorrow. And a couple hundred people showed up.
Yeah, I know, right? It's similar to Maggie Cassidy's vigil in support of the Women's March the week before. And I think that's really one of the things that stood out to me is, like, you have something happening one week and people... you never know what people have else going on, especially spur-of-the-moment reactions to things happening in the news, yet people found it important enough to take time out of their weekend to go and express in such numbers in a community that isn't really, we're not a community under threat the way, say, another community is, even here in Vermont, like a Rutland or a Burlington.
But there's still people here. I mean, the up at SIT, they're concerned about this too. About how can students get back and forth from their home countries? Are there going to be problems in the future with students who want to attend World Learning in SIT? There's people of varying citizenship status who live in this town too that might be under threat. The main thing is that this is just the first thing. You go after the most vulnerable group that you think no one is going to pay much attention to. They're immigrants, they're illegals, they're whatever. No, it's not my problem.
Right. Yeah,
until they go after the next group of people, and then the next group, and the next group. Yeah. And some of the signs I saw at JFK in New York via the internet that were I can't repeat them on the radio without using a Daryl button, but
no.
It was inspiring, and the response to that was inspiring. I think that the idea of resisting illegitimate authority is definitely catching on, and doing it whenever something happens. I mean, this week there was spontaneous protests around the country to Neil Gorsuch being the Supreme Court justice nominee for the stolen seat that the Republicans are trying to fill.
And rightfully so. Anything I'm learning more and more about Neil Gorsuch, I don't find him a mainstream candidate in any sense of the word. But I think a lot of these people who are coming out to these protests are people who maybe feel like they didn't do enough during the campaign, maybe took things for granted. I've certainly seen reactions to that. Do you think any of these people are Trump supporters expressing buyer's remorse? I'm not necessarily seeing anybody changing. No, I mean, they seem to be steadfast, and even people who said, well, let's give him a chance, let's look past the hate rhetoric and the Muslim ban and look at what he's going to do for the economy. They're not saying, oh, this is wrong. And that's really what needs to happen here. Yeah,
but this is not normal. Yeah. It is not normal to have a white supremacist as your chief advisor.
Yeah.
It is not normal to have billionaires whose mission is running a cabinet in the cabinet position is to dismantle the agency they're overseeing. It's not normal to have cronies benefiting from your decisions, or a president benefiting from his foreign policy decision. It's not normal to tick off the Prime Minister of Australia and hang up on him in a phone call.
Yeah.
It's not normal.
No, this is definitely not normal and definitely not good for the country in any way, shape, or form. Now, It's great that we have a publication like the Commons that can look outside the borders of Brattleboro and the surrounding area, but also do such great coverage of things happening here. And we're in the midst of the season where people are getting ready for town meeting in early March. You had a story about the not one, not two, not three, but 4 candidates for 2 seats on the select board. Nice to see that kind of local participation. I got to think those two things kind of go hand in hand, don't you? When people are politically active about these things happening on a national stage or international stage, maybe it inspires them to be a little bit more active locally in government.
Well, this is more of a case of, there have been complaints for the last few years of, we need to get to broaden the representation of the board, that we can't have the same kind of group of burgers and running things in the town. And looking at these 4 candidates, David Cadron, Brandy Starr, Avery Schwenk, Tim Wessel, we're all talking about people who are under the age of 50, some under the age of 30, some definitely under the age of 40. We're bringing a new generation of leadership and perspective to the board, and whomever gets which of these 4 candidates gets elected, it's going to be a very different board.
Yeah, I've gotten to speak to both Tim and Brandy thus far. I've scheduled David for next week, and definitely I saw somebody post online in response to the Commons Facebook post about this story, saying that's just a great choice among those 4 people. I'm looking forward to getting to know David and Avery as well, because it does feel like these people are bringing new energy to the challenges here of the town.
Well, these are also people who came here by choice and really have embraced what Brattleboro is about. And what Brattleboro is about is kind of, you see on the opposite side of the Town and Village page when you see Joyce's piece on the Stone Soup Social, which was a fantastic evening at the Legion, of seeing 35 nonprofit groups getting together and talking with each other and sharing ideas and help. And you talk about what's needed in the days ahead under Trump. Getting together and sharing ideas and coming together with help for people, that's a good thing.
Yeah, Star Latronica on my show earlier this week talked about some of the ideas that were forged from that. It sounded like a very positive event that took place at the Legion last week. Nice to see the coverage with Joyce's byline on that. Wanted to get to some of the other surrounding towns news here. It's going to be a couple weeks before we have Wendy back in the studio, and I don't know if you want to speak to some of these Dummerston Select Board issues as the deputy editor or as a resident of Dummerston. But
the parking ban thing was totally silly.
It was, right? An overreaction to the idea that you kind of think about Dummerston as this small little hamlet, but a lot of things happen in the center of Dummerston because of that Grange, and it is a space. It's basically the de facto home of the Vermont Theater Company.
And so you see a lot of parking there, but this was more of a neighborhood issue that was focused on West Dummerston and West Street.
Oh, so I'm maybe my geography was off here. I thought they were talking about parking in that center of town area.
Well, Ruth Barton brought that up, saying, you dummies, you pass this ordinance, you won't be able to park for a Grange supper or for a play at the Grange or for the Pie Festival.
Right. Right. So it was in a different part of town, but they hadn't thought through the ramifications of it for those other portions of Dummerston.
Yes.
Gotcha. So,
and as you know, Dummerston can be quite crowded when there's an event.
Yeah, it really can be, and great that people showed up to a second hearing. Right, this was the second hearing. The first time it was kind of lukewarm, and so you got to think word got around in town that hey, we need to really kind of organize and make sure that the majority voice is heard.
Yes.
Was it a situation where the people who wanted this parking ban kind of realized that maybe they were going a little too far, or was there some bad blood here afterwards?
Well, that I can't speak to because I don't live on that side of town. But there's, I think there were some neighbor issues that kind of spilled out into the select board meeting. Okay.
And speaking of bad blood, the denial for the Dummerston Select Board of Sevage request for the $3 per person charge for economic development. It's the first time I can remember I know here in Brattleboro, they've denied the $3 per person request and reduced it to $2, but this is the first time I can remember a board saying no to the Southeastern Vermont Economic Development Strategies Group.
Well, for them, it's awful hard to prove that they're actually doing something
Yeah.
and that benefits the town. Does Dummerston see any benefit from SEVEDS? That's debatable. And certainly Zeke's good band, the Selectboard chair's characterization of, well, if, like my mom said, if everyone jumped off the roof, would you jump off too?
But is Dummerston looking at this in terms of, is it helping Dummerston directly, or are they looking at it also through the lens of Dummerston really being a bedroom community for the greater area? And I mean, a lot of people from Dummerston come into Brattleboro, and certainly you can point to a lot of successes of BDCC and SEVEDS in Brattleboro.
Yes, and but the perception still seems to be that SEVEDS, comes up with lots of reports and doesn't do a lot of concrete things, and also coming to the town meeting to shake select board meetings around the county and kind of shaking people down for money.
Yeah, and I think I agree that the proof is yet to really come to fruition for them in a way that they can make that case on a regular basis, especially kind of the offer that they take it or leave it sort of offer that they put on the table to Dummerston, it seemed, was something that was very off-putting to that particular board.
And they were very happy to say, we'll leave it.
Yeah, so what it sounded like from reading Wendy's article about that in the Town and Village section of the Commons this week. All right, Randy, we're running out of time here, so I want to get your Super Bowl prediction before we go. Patriots or Falcons?
Oh, Patriots are going to win.
Yeah, it's that. We always, every year, they talk about how good the Patriots are, and they never have had an easy Super Bowl victory. No,
they've always been close, and this one will likely be close also. But I think they're peaking at the right time. They're healthy, and they have a plan for Atlanta. So
yeah.
I think the revenge tour will be complete.
Well, it'll certainly make a lot of people happy on Monday morning if that is the outcome in our listening area and amongst your readership. Looking forward to talking with you next Friday, maybe about the Super Bowl, but certainly about other things that are in the Commons. Thanks for your time this morning.
Thank you.
All right. Randy Holhut, Deputy Editor of The Commons, your reader-supported independent news and views source for Windham County. Free on stands every Wednesday, online at commonsnews.org. We'll wrap up this edition of Green Mountain Mornings when we come back after these messages.